Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Cancer for June 2017. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see what's new on my blog, and while you're there, if you're interested in learning astrology for yourself or for professional purposes, or being a coach as your profession, or bringing your business online, I will have my courses to assist you with this enrolling soon. So what's going on in the month of June? This is a very exciting month. Besides having your birthday, if you're watching for your sun sign, or having your sun move over your ascendant if you're watching for your rising sign, which is very exciting. We also have all systems go, full speed ahead, the first very open window for a long time. We started this movement and momentum in May, but we still had some shadow periods from personal planets being retrograde. We don't have that in June. June is the only month of 2 months in the whole year, the other being October, where we don't have personal planets retrograde or their shadow periods. So it's major movement, Part of the sub-theme of this month I'm calling motion and emotion, because there is all this energy in Gemini and energy in Aries, and it's like making this motion. And then we've got all the energies at the end of the month moving into Cancer, and then we have this emotion, which brings the trend into July. So I'm going to talk in detail about why I love this month, bringing solidifying long-term things now, why you want to do this. Part of why you want to do this is because we've got this window, and then we've got sometime in the fall, for my friends down under, the spring. And then we've got some energy at the beginning of 2018, but then after that, 2018 is one long retrograde of personal planets. We've got Mercury doing its several retrograde time thing. We've got Mars retrograde in 2018, and we have Venus retrograde again at the end of 2018. So that puts back into perspective the importance of this striking time to bring some things out into the world, so that you get your plan together. Because if you've needed some incentive to get working on some things, let the knowledge of the retrograde dominance of next year be your guide to kind of push you into using this June energy in a big way, because it really wants to be done that way. So I'm going to talk about one of the transits that I'll get into more. I'm going to get into the transits in more detail later. But one of the transits occurring in June that I'm going to get into more detail about now is Jupiter going direct. Jupiter is the planet of luck and expansion and optimism and enthusiasm, and it's been retrograde. So that can be kind of a bummer for people. They can feel a little unsure, a little more, uncertain and about what they're doing. And when Jupiter goes direct, as it does on June 9th, it starts to bring that buoyancy back. So we're going to talk about where it's going direct for the early, middle, and late degree Cancer placements. Most of you Cancer placements will be experiencing this waking up of Jupiter in your home and family sector. So I'm calling the theme of this month for y'all home expansion. For you late degree placements, it's more about expression and mobility that's being expanded, but we'll get to that. So when Jupiter let's first understand Jupiter. Jupiter brings this expansion and growth to wherever it moves in your chart. So when it's in the 4th house, as it will be for most of you, so the early and middle degree placements are, if you're watching for your rising sign, those with 0 to 19 degrees or so for your rising. If you're watching for your sun sign, it's the first 20 days that the sun is in that sign. Okay, so you can figure out where you are in that. So the early and middle degree placements, you have Jupiter in your 4th house, and the 4th house has to do with home and family. So Jupiter wants to bring a relative experience of expansion to your home and family. So what I mean by relative experience is this. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a city dweller and you are crushed from living in the city and the traffic and the noise and the smell and the whatever. And you feel like you want to live out more in the country or out west or in the mountains. This Jupiter energy can bring that to you. If you're a person who's out in a small town and you feel like the option of city living is expansive to you, Jupiter can bring that. If you're in a small house and you want more space, it can bring a bigger house. If you're in a bigger house and you want to not be married to your mortgage or have so much to clean or keep up, you could downsize. That would be Jupiter expansion for you. So it's a relative expansion of your home, your actual home, and your surroundings and of your family. Many, many, many people will be welcoming in or have welcomed in during this Jupiter transit a new child into the family. Or it could be a new relative, an in-law marries in, or a relative comes to live with you. Your family size or your home count of occupants is very likely to increase in this time. For those of you who aren't going to have that occur, it could just be that your home life improves dramatically. This is another thing that can happen when Jupiter is in the 4th house. Your family can get bigger, your family can have more harmony, you can have more trouble with your family that leads to things getting better. Something to remember about Jupiter is that it tends to amplify issues sometimes. So it might seem like things are getting worse at first because it's showing you what the problem is. So then when you heal those things, then you can get past to the better end of the expansion. The 4th house is a psychology house. It's a house of your inner child and your experience as a child. So many people will be awakening to the truth that you're so limited by the imprints that you have from your childhood, and that you're recreating in these patterns, these 7-year cycles, exact feelings like you had when you were a child, even if the story is different and the faces are different perhaps. So this awakening that you can heal your future by clearing your past is going to be a very strong component of this Jupiter transit for many of you. You later degree placements, remember that everything I'm talking about for the 4th house, even if it's not current for you yet, it is coming for you. So don't dismiss it, because it's part of something that's coming for you. It's just not really the focus this month. I'll get to the 3rd house energies that are the focus for you at this time in a minute. So if you are involved with real estate, construction, interior design, feng shui, anything having to do with houses or homes, or you own a piece of real estate and you want to sell it, Jupiter direct in the 4th house is your best friend. It wants to help you be free of real estate that's bothering you. It wants to help you acquire real estate that will expand your bottom line. You know, it's super supportive to all real estate measures. If you want to improve your property or make your house bigger, this is also awesome energy to instigate this under. Let's see. Doing family genealogy is another way that Jupiter can assist here. You can check out, if you're interested in understanding more of the subtle nuances of how Jupiter is at work in the house that it's in for you, and in the sign Libra that it's in for everybody, you can check out my blog on this topic. AnnieHelpsYou.com, click on blog, click on astrology, do a search on the sidebar for Jupiter. And I have this very extensive blog that goes into more details about some things that I'm summarizing here that can be a focus for Jupiter and the placement for you. So check out Jupiter in 7th house Libra, because everyone is experiencing Jupiter moving forward in Libra, all signs. And then you early and middle degree placements, and even you late degree placements, so you know it's coming, check out Jupiter in the 4th house. And then you late degree placements, check out Jupiter in the 3rd house. Okay, so those of you who are late degree placements and have Jupiter in the 3rd house still, your expression and mobility is about to get a superb amount of support. If you need a new device, if you need to buy a car, you need to be more mobile, you need to be more connected, this is your best friend. And of the time that Jupiter will be in your 3rd house, these first several weeks in June are actually the best times for you to buy a new device or a new car, because there are just amazing transits all over the place in this period of time. You're not going to have this kind of support for a while, especially for doing something related to your 3rd house. So expressing yourself, writing, publishing, you know, blogging, communicating in any way, editing, relationships or notable things involving brothers, sisters, step-relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins are also in the 3rd house. I also see a lot of times the 3rd house, this energy of communication is not always with people that we see. It can be with the, lesser seen things like angels or fairies or other energies, animal totems, other signs, synchronicities. I see many people who have an active 3rd house who are into those kind of things or awakening to those kind of things have a very active experience where they start channeling energies from different dimensions that it's starting to become a normal thing for them. And if you're doing that type of work already, then this is just going to expand it that much further. So this is also one of the houses of social scenes. So you may find your friendships and your other social experiences expanding tremendously. If you're wanting more friends and more interactions socially, then this is definitely a really great transit for you. This house also rules education and information. So learning and teaching are really, blogging, articles, columns, books, publishing, things like that are really supported by Jupiter's movement here through the third house. So these are some of the things on my mind specifically for Cancer placements. Now let's talk about these amazing aspects of why I love this month the best of the whole year and what you can do with it. So I'm calling the theme of the month for the general transits for June for all signs full speed ahead. This is definitely one of my favorite months of the whole year. It is one of the months that carries with it the most momentum and forward moving energy that is more supported by positive aspects. This is one of 2 months in the whole year of 2017, June and October, that is completely free from personal planet retrogrades and their shadow periods. May introduced us into this period of movement because we had been in just kind of retrograde inner movement mode from the end of 2016 through well into May. So you started to see things moving and progressing and bursting out into the world in May, and now June carries that forward in a big way. And although July will also have until around the 24th or so some clear energy and great transits for moving forward, towards the end of June we start to get a little dicey where those challenging aspects are a little bit more closely matched up with the positive aspects that make it kind of like touch and go. But for the first over 3 weeks, really until like the 24th of June, we just have amazing aspects and complete clear energy to sail. So I'm going to go into some of the aspects and the dates that I really like and the ones that I see some potential challenges, just all the things to take note of. And know that you can go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, and sign up for my free email newsletter. And in that newsletter, I do a write-up, so a written summary of the aspects and dates ahead, and I send that out a month early. So if you're a visual person and you want to keep better track of some of the things that I report in this part of the video, then you can sign up for the free email newsletter and you can get it that way too. So the first of the month is one of my favorite days for locking in something long-term. If you have been watching my videos for a while, or at least since the end of 2016, then you know I have been kind of coaching you along. Okay, we don't have a lot of great movement for pushing things forward. We had a little bit at the beginning of the year, but now is the time when if you have a launch, if you have a big commitment, if you have a big decision, that we've got some really great energy. And June 1st is the first aspect that I love. So Venus in Aries is making a beautiful trine to Saturn in Sagittarius. So anything that you have to do for long term involving love, beauty, and money. I had a lot of people write to me from my Venus retrograde video that they were wanting to do some physical improvements and enhancements, and the Venus retrograde time was not the time to do that. But if you're looking for times to do that, this is a much better time. Love commitments, big love decisions, money commitments, starting businesses, launching different aspects of your already established business. I love this date for this. And May 31st is also amazing if you're watching this beforehand. So the 31st through the 1st, you've got a power lineup that's pretty free and clear from negative or challenging aspects. On June 3rd, we have Venus in Aries, again, conjunct Uranus. Now, whenever we have planets get together in a conjunction, that means they're right on top of each other. They're at the same degree in the same sign. There's always a potential for something challenging to happen that is not positive. But there's so much good energy sandwiched around it, it makes the odds greater that it will be a positive outcome. And if it isn't, there's support that can buoy you in whatever the negative or challenging thing may be. So Venus rules money and love and beauty, and Uranus rules surprises and insights. So most people will experience happy surprises and just great, brilliant ideas from this, but there could be a jostling piece of money news or love news that comes in that isn't positive. as well, because we just never know how these things are going to manifest. On June 3rd as well, the Sun in Gemini makes a beautiful trine to Jupiter in Libra. Trines are the best aspects, the most positive, easy. I don't want to say the best aspects because it depends on what you're judging by the best. I think that challenging angles are the best too because they provide impetus and energy to push through challenges. But we'll call it more favorable and easy and flowing and coherent. So the Sun in Gemini is making this coherent aspect with Jupiter in Libra, and that is bringing great support for your individual expression from your relationship space, and also having your individual expression boost your relationships, and helping people that you're in a relationship with. So the energy could flow both ways, where you're helping someone you're in a relationship with, or they're helping you. On June 4th, Venus in Aries is also making a trine, a beautiful aspect to the transiting North Node in Leo. So we talked a little bit about the transiting North Node in recent months. And this is a place where there is a key or keys held to your highest expression. So when you have Venus ruling this love and beauty and money and art and just aesthetics and, beautiful energy, in this beautiful aspect with your highest expression, many a person is going to stumble upon a key or a piece that will, or a step that will facilitate their higher expression. On June 4th, there's also a challenging aspect with the Sun in Gemini and making a square to Neptune in Pisces. How I'm reading this is, Pisces can always bring confusion or doubt or self or doubt in general. And the fact that the Sun is an aspect to it, it can bring this self-doubt. So I always see for myself and for people that I'm working with, that whenever we have this boost of positive energy where we're pushing forward and we're feeling really positive about what we're doing, the shadow side comes in and the fears come up. Like, okay, you're putting yourself out in the world in this bigger way, and then some fears come in. And this is kind of like that. We have a couple of points this month where there's like this big push of energy forward, and then there's the second guessing energy. So this energy has the second guessing energy where you're questioning what you're doing and what you're putting out there. And, but I say just push right through it. If there's something usable in there with a reflection that comes back to you, then use it. And if not, then just ignore it and move on. On June 9th, we have the full moon in Sagittarius. It's also aspecting Saturn. And so when Saturn is nearby, it can bring a reality check, like a sobering look at something. And the full moon tends to bring emotional things. So there could be a sobering realization about something. But it's equally as likely that Saturn can work as a stable, wise helper in the fulfillment or the fruition or the coming to completion or manifestation of this energy of Sagittarius. So whenever we have a full moon, we look to the sign that it's in to see the energy of the fullness. So Sagittarius represents writing, teaching, learning, publishing, spiritual studies of any kind, religious or, things that tie in all religions or no religions. Anything that works with a creative solution, kind of looking from the standpoint of being on a mountain down at the bigger picture. So many people will have a trip that they're going to take that comes to fulfillment. Many people will publish a book, will publish blogs, will start a blog, will have some speaking engagement of note, something coming to fruition in Sagittarius. And it could be that this is solidifying a long-term trend for the future. And that's a way that Saturn can be helpful here. Saturn's been moving through Sagittarius and sort of taking these energies of the big dreams that are up here and forcing you to do the work to bring them down into fruition. And so I see this as hard work manifested in a wonderful result with Sagittarius based things. So also on the 9th, there is an aspect with Venus in Taurus and Mars in Cancer. And this is wonderful for heart to hearts. The energy of Mars in Cancer is a little bit awkward because Mars generally rules, Aries and is a co-ruler of Scorpio. And there's sort of this intensity, and it's, and Aries energy is, very physical. It's not very emotional. So in this energy of Cancer, you know, it's a little bit awkward, but in this beautiful angle with Venus, it's like a really beautiful coming together with Venus and Mars, which of course is the female and male aspects of ourselves, the active and passive aspects. So I love that date. Another beautiful day this month is June 13th, and that's when Mercury in Gemini will make a trine with Jupiter in Libra. This is a writer's delight or an expressor's delight, a communicator's delight. Editing is very strongly featured when we're talking about Gemini energy or Mercury energy too. So again, I love this for book launches, for blog launches, for something big where you're teaching or learning or helping people. The energy, since it's excessive, Jupiter can always be a little excessive, you know, so even at a nice angle, you could be driven to exhaustion, but this is fine because we've been waiting to push out these things into the world for so long that if you're a little bit tired from the process of doing it, I think that's fine, you know? And I also see this follow-up energy on June 15th with the Sun in Gemini opposing Saturn as kind of another little like fear bobble that I talked about before. You know, there's all this energy just pushing open and out, and it's so supportive and so wonderful. And we've got just these little kind of touching in points where we're like questioning, we're doubting, there's a little bit of a halt in activity. We kind of have to, you know, pull back the reins a little bit. So that's going on June 15th. And always remember that when I give you these dates, you can feel these aspects before or after the actual dates. So don't hang your hat too heavily on the actual date, because if you're paying attention, you'll feel the energy sometimes sooner or sometimes after the fact. So on June 16th, Neptune in Pisces goes retrograde. I see Neptune in Pisces Neptune in Pisces going retrograde as this amazing time to be okay with being reclusive. I think people need way more alone time than they get. And for the people who are having too much alone time, perhaps it's not being productive. And Neptune in Pisces in retrograde can really facilitate that, you know? So just asking for more alone time, even if it's just 10 minutes in a day to be in your own energy field. People definitely strongly underestimate the importance of having just your own energy field around you sometimes. And this Neptune in Pisces transit is really amazing for getting back in touch with what it feels like in your energy field. You know, draining it out, clearing it out, and seeing what it feels like in there, and getting more familiar with what your energy is when it's not mixed with all the other people that you are, you know, brushing up against, your field's brushing up against throughout the day. Yes, let's see. Okay, so June 18th, we have another beautiful aspect with the Sun in Gemini making a sextile, which is a favorable angle to Uranus and Aries. Whenever we have this 60-degree angle, it wants some action. You know, trines are energies that tend to just bring things, whether you do anything with them or not. And these sextile energies are things that they really want you to take action on. So like an opportunity is presented, but you have to do something with it. Or you have two potentials sitting together and then you have to activate them. I always think about these angles as having ingredients on your counter in your kitchen, you know, for whatever it is that you want to make, cookies or whatever. And so it's like you have everything there you need to make the cookies, but you have to actually mix them together and bake them and to make them. So as you have opportunities that come to you, we are just leaving a time where it was sort of time to mull over those opportunities or to take small steps or intuitively based steps and not just go blasting forward for the sake of it. But this type of energy, and we've got another one coming up, which I'm about to mention, is sort of this time to like take action and activate. On June 18th as well, we have Mercury in Gemini opposing Saturn in Sagittarius. So this is another little bit of a, it could be a fear bobble, or it could be just like a break point, you know? When Saturn opposes Mercury, there's some sort of a person being stern, an authority figure putting the clamps on your expression, you know, when we're not regulating ourselves, something steps in from outside in this, you know, we're in this reflective experience in the universe, this holographic experience. So if we can't control or manage or regulate ourselves, often something comes from outside to do that. So as we live in sync with the aspects in astrology that are occurring and with other synchronicities in our lives, it makes it more clear when something is kind of nudging us to back off a little bit, you know? So this is a full speed ahead month. We've got a couple of touching points where it's like you have to manage your horsey so that it doesn't get out of control and you don't go too fast and fall over. So I see this as another point here around the 18th. And also, you know, just to kind of check in with you and your purpose and your intuition, because sometimes someone says something from outside of us that can serve to damper our energy about something we're doing. But if it's not true for us, then you can just keep moving on. And if you are sensitive to it, then that shows you that you have a little bit more inner work to do, because it's still bothering you what other people think in a way that might be interfering with what you're supposed to be doing. So on June 20th, Mercury in Gemini makes a sextile to Uranus in Aries. We talked about the Sun making the same aspect a couple of days before, and now we have Mercury doing the same thing. So your expression is given a major boost, a major insight, you know, some brilliant energy comes in to support you. This is a really amazing energy. But again, you might have to do something with it. There's like a potential sitting there and you have to activate it. On the 21st, and now we're starting to kind of move into this, this energy of emotion. A sub-theme for this month I was calling motion and emotion, because the Gemini energy is all about movement, you know, and then as we get towards the end of the month, the Cancer energies become very prominent, and that's about emotion. So it's, you know, the movement and motion, and then now we're moving into a more introspective energy. So here on June 21st, we have the Sun in Cancer making a conjunction to Mercury, and the emotions are going to run high, for better or worse. You know, it's a wonderful time for feeling, for journaling, for connecting, for being cozy in your home, for, you know, nestling into companionship with someone that's close to you. On the 23rd, we have the new moon at almost 3 degrees of Cancer. So there's this energy opening up around home and family. We do have a couple of challenging aspects with that new moon, with Saturn and Chiron, that could bring up old wounds. But we also have a really nice energy with Uranus, which could bring sudden insights that help you to view those wounds in a different way. It's really amazing how perspective can change everything, and that you can look back at an event or at a present event with certain eyes, and then if something happens and you shift how you're looking at it, that it can look radically different. So this is a theme that's beginning at the end of June and moving into July, where we're kind of feeling into how we're looking at our lives through the emotional lenses. So on June 24th, we have a beautiful aspect with Venus in Taurus and Pluto in Capricorn. I see this as the power of unseen forces, or people in powerful positions, companies in powerful positions, anything that's like a lesser seen or harder to pin down, energy supporting your money, your love, your artistic expression. And this is really the last aspect of the month that I really love for trying to do much with, because even though we have a couple of aspects between June 25th and the 29th that have some sweetness to them, they're really just alternating these Mercury and Mars in Cancer with these aspects with outer planets and also with each other that are just bringing a lot of up and down emotions. You know, the earlier part of the month is not very emotional. It's more action, and it's thinking and planning and action oriented. And as we get towards the end of the month, there's just a lot of feeling going on. And that, like I said, that trend is going to continue into July. So my recommendation for the end of the month is, you know, to ground your emotions as much as possible. I always love bare feet and hands in the earth with that third eye up against a tree. You know, anything that drains your energy field, Epsom salt baths, EFT tapping. There are a million ways you can clear your energy field, but you're going to need to do more of it, especially towards the end of the month. So when the energy is flowing well, just keep rolling on. And then when you have some things that come up that cause you to really need to feel, or you're confused, then just hold up. So that's going to be a theme for the whole month. So definitely sign up for my free email newsletter to get a written version of these things and more. I'm going to be launching my Astrology Apprenticeship Program and my Coach Certification course in very soon, at some point either at the end of June or into July. And if you're watching this before that time, you can still go to my website and send me an email through my pages for these programs to get first dibs on these courses when they open up, because they do fill quickly. And if I know beforehand that you're interested in them, then you'll get a pre-public chance at open slots before I open it up to the public. So if you want to be a coach as your job, as your profession, and learn how to bring that business online and have an internet presence, or if you want to learn astrology, or if you want to include astrology in your offering for your coaching, then I am your friend in this. This is my department. So check out my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Also see what's new on my blog. I hope you have a wonderful month and that you get lots of active productivity and just blasting forward into the direction of your dreams happening for you. And I'll see you next month. Bye.